It goes without saying that Manitoba has a very vibrant choral and singing tradition. Between the plethora of choirs the province has and the strong opera community we have that has fostered world-class talent such as Tracy Dahl, Valdine Anderson, Hugh Russell, and Lara, Manitoba is a hotbed of the best in vocal performance. Coming up tomorrow night, June 6th at 7 p.m. at the Desautels Concert Hall, the Little Opera Company, in collaboration with Flipside Opera and Art Song Collective, with support from Manitoba Opera, is putting on a fundraiser that puts Manitoba vocal talent front and center. This fundraiser will raise money for the newly created Michael Cavanagh Enduring Legacy Fund, a fund that pays tribute to the Canadian opera icon and stage director Michael Cavanagh, who was from Winnipeg but sadly passed away in 2024. The fundraiser will feature a performance of Winnipeg composer Neil Weisensel's one-act chamber opera, Gisela in Her Bathtub, an opera that Weisensal worked very closely with Cavanagh on, as well as other operatic selections that Cavanagh famously directed. These performances will feature singers such as Tracy Dahl, Monica Huisman, Lara Secord-Haid, and Lizzy Hoyt. This is going to be an absolutely fantastic show tomorrow night. And joining me here in the Classic 107 studio is Neil Weisensel, the composer of Gisela in Her Bathtub, and Mariam Bernstein, who originated the role of Gisela. Hello to you both. So great to have you here.
Hi, Chris.
Thanks for having us.
I want to start out the conversation by asking about Michael Cavanagh. Neil, you worked with him on a number of operas that you composed. What was he like, and why was he so loved as a stage director?
Wow. Do we have an hour? He loved people. He was funny. He was charming. He was witty. He was insanely talented. I first met Mariam when we did Gianni Schicchi, a Puccini opera at the Fringe Festival, one of the first operas that appeared at the Winnipeg Fringe. And I was the pianist, he was the director, and it was just an outstanding experience. And then Michael had a script that he had shopped, that he had created, because he was, as well as being director, he was a librettist, which is a technical term for people that write opera scripts. And just everything about him, he was an exceptional singer. He was just so charming with people. He had great artistic ideas, and he was a wonderful collaborator and also an exceptional librettist. We created 4 operas together.
Mariam, what memories do you have of working with him, especially with Gisela in Her Bathtub?
I remember that Mike had an infallible instinct for comedy right from the beginning. I was also in the production of Gianni Schicchi, right, that he mentioned, and I was just gobsmacked because it was Mike's first directing foray, and his instinct for comedy was bang on. It was unbelievable. People were on their feet at the end of that production, and a large part of the audience was not very familiar with opera or anything, and this was a Puccini comedy, and he knew how to get exactly the right comedic tone out of it, as well as all his musical background. Mike was known for nurturing and guiding emerging artists, of which there were many in that production and in Gisela. And he was also one of the least judgmental people I've ever met in my life, which meant he was just a joy to work with. I mean, the way he dealt with people was wonderful. And I had also grown up about 50 feet from Mike, so we went through school together. So it was this wonderful, he was always that way. He was smart, he was witty, he was kind, he was an absolutely outstanding human being, and just so much fun to be with.
The show tomorrow night is a fundraiser for the Michael Cavanagh Legacy Fund. It's designed to foster the career of young stage directors. Can you both talk about the fund and how is it going to help do that?
Well, I mean, I loved what Mariam said about Michael's instincts, because Mariam did you have your training at that point?
I did.
Okay. So Michael loved to say, and it was kind of true, he didn't have a lot of training. He had gobs of natural talent. So he was a young director who was a singer and decided to change into directing and had all these gifts. So we're looking for the fund to help young stage directors, and I think specifically for opera, get some money towards funding to have some training so they can further their further their skills.
The thing is that if most companies do not have funds to hire apprentices or associates. It's just not a reality within their budget. So this, if an aspiring director comes to an opera company and says, I can afford to support myself with this grant during this period, then it becomes much more feasible for a company to hire them and have them as an intern or an apprentice or an assistant.
And do some on-the-job training.
Exactly, with very experienced people.
I want to turn to Gisela in the Bathtub. That's going to be performed tomorrow night. From what I gather, it's a comedic opera inspired by Icelandic sagas. Neil, can you quickly summarize the plot?
So Gisela is in her bathtub reading the end of an epic Icelandic romance novel. And when she starts reading, the characters come to life around her. However, she can't see them, but they soon realize that she is somehow controlling their destiny. If she closes her book, as she does one time when the phone rings, they have to stop. And so gradually they realize that their future is intertwined with Gisela's future. So this was the concept and the conceit that was set up by Mike. So there's all sorts of funny gags to do with that, all sorts of opera cliches that are lampooned, and all sorts of very funny shenanigans that go on, not only with the singers, but also with Gisela and her bathtub in these kind of two planes of existence.
Can you talk about who's going to be singing the roles of Olaf, Helga, and Snorri in addition to Gisela?
So Helga is going to be sung by Diana Rockwell, a young artist of exceptional quality. Tenor, a fellow familiar to you, Nolan Kaler, who's also excellent. And then the bass baritone who is singing Snorri, the law speaker, is a young, outstanding fellow by the name of Christopher Dunn. So we have these three young artists who are working on this role for the first time. Mariam and I are two of the quote-unquote original cast members from the 1991 production. So, and also Rob Harriott, who is directing, so Michael premiered the role of Olaf when we did the first production, and we sang a few subsequent performances, of which I have a videotape of the University of Manitoba production in 1992 when we were all very young. And and Rob went on to sing the role of Olaf many, many times, and then he's directed this piece across the country. So to have him back and to be back together is like, and everybody's got their opinions, which is great because Rob's a very collaborative director. Rob is another person who would give Michael a lot of kudos to helping him with his career and stuff, as do I. And so to be back together again is just, we were killing ourselves laughing, like literally tears streaming down my cheek yesterday at a few things that were going on in the rehearsal. Oh my God. It's like, so an exceptional cast. It is real opera music. Like it's really, it's
a very challenging
It's a
score
very
to
challenging
sing.
score.
Yeah,
I like to think it's accessible, right? There's lots of great tunes in it, but it also is contemporary music, so it's got its little quirks and stuff. But
You'll also hear Neil's score little tips of the hat and pastiches of very well-known opera styles.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of Gershwin in there. There's a little bit of Brahms. There's a little bit of Stravinsky.
Puccini,
yes, definitely Puccini.
Yeah, the opera is incredibly popular. I mean, when I was prepping for the interview, a lot of companies have done it. You wrote it in 2012, is that right?
1991.
1991?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we wrote 4 operas in succession. Gisela in her Bathtub, 1991. City Workers in Love, of which there will be excerpts at this concert as well, 1992. Then the next year we wrote a lesser-known opera called The Bachelor Farms of the Apocalypse. That was quite an artistic leap forward, and there's actually going to be an aria sung by Joanna Leptison, who's a fabulous contralto in the city. And then later on, we collaborated on the golf opera called The Masterstroke, which is our magnum opus, a 2-hour full-length opera that is still awaiting its first premiere. This is to all the opera producers out there.
Mariam, you were the first person to sing Gisela in the initial production. Can you think back, what was it like back then learning the score and getting in the tub with the book and just learning the music?
It's lovely because I don't have to really know I don't have to remember any blocking. I just sit in the tub and figure out where to turn my pages because basically Gisela initiates all of the action, so I just have to be really clear in my head about that. It was just so much fun because I love comedy, and this is really, really well written comedy. And Neil and Mike have this 18-minute piece. But it is so well constructed. I mean, often we see skits now, not opera skits, but any kind of comedic thing where they don't have. They don't know when to stop it. They don't have a real ending. It goes on too long, whatever. This is absolutely perfect. There is no part that should be cut or it doesn't go on too long. It's not too short. It's just right. And that's always been really fun. And it was just really fun to sort of be the first person to sort of find the comic bits. And, Mike was always open to things. And it's as for learning the score... Well, anyone who sees it will understand why it was easier than you might think.
I'll leave it at that, and people will have to see it tomorrow night.
There you go.
It is a fundraiser, and there's, as we mentioned, Neil, there's going to be opera selections from operas that Michael Cavanagh has directed throughout his very illustrious career. And there's also going to be performances done by Tracy Dahl, Monica Huisman, Lara Secord-Haid, Lizzy, Hoyt. Have you heard the other selections? And you've talked a little bit about some of the performances.
Yes, they're all, I would say, opera gems that are the favorites of the singers that we've invited to participate in this event. And so, just some of the best music I've ever written. I'm a little bit concerned because these excerpts by Puccini and Verdi and Mozart are going to be interspersed with my music. So I'm not sure how that's going to stand up, but be that as it may, it's going to be there's going to be some really fabulous singing.
Yeah, sounds like it's going to be an excellent concert. This has been so great. I'm going to wrap up the conversation by asking what you both hope audiences will take away. And Mariam, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, first and foremost, an appreciation for the creativity and warm, hilarious spirit of Mike Cavanagh. That's that would be my hope, because there, young people may not have had the chance to work with him or be aware of this repertoire, and it's really great. And I just want it to be a joyous celebration of his work.
In his life. Neil, how about you?
I would echo what Mariam said, and also say, it's hard when you're a young artist, and Michael had the perseverance and the talent. And we're going to have a memory table. I bought a few items along here, actually reviews and previews. This is actually the original libretto from Gisela and her bathtub, handwritten. So I have that, and we have a bunch of stuff that we're going to be showing to people. And so just to encourage people that Michael was a pioneer. He was a amazingly talented spirit, and this is something that is possible to do, and he was a very inspirational figure to absolutely everybody who's participating in this concert.
Yeah, and anybody who has any association with opera here in the province and in Canada.
Yeah, and elsewhere. I mean, when Mike passed away, the tributes came from all over the world from singers who had worked with him
Sweden.
in Europe. He was the artistic director at the Swedish National Opera, and he'd worked in Europe. He didn't do China, and he was so he was just beloved by everyone who worked with him from many.
Yes, I was just going to say, and when we talk about his legacy, yes, he was an amazing director, and what's lesser known is that he wrote these amazing scripts for these operas, and so also that's his a tangible legacy, right? That we can
his wit, right from very early on in his life, was so sharp and so funny. He loved a good joke, but it was a razor sharp wit, and he knew how to write comedy, which is very rare.
Yes.
Very rare.
It's so much harder to make people laugh than to make people cry in the theater. So we're going to give it our best shot.
You bet.
Mariam and Neil, this has been really fun having you both here in studio. The fundraiser tomorrow night sounds like it's going to be super entertaining and a great way to encourage emerging opera stage directors and librettists. All the best tomorrow night. Say hello to Rob and Spencer for me, will you?
I will.
Friends of mine.
Oh, great.
And thanks so much for taking the time to stop by and talk to me today.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Chris.
For our Classic 107 listeners, the Michael Cavanagh Enduring Legacy fundraiser tomorrow night, as presented by the Little Opera Company in collaboration with Flipside Opera and Art Song Collective, with support from Manitoba Opera, takes place at the Desautels Concert Hall at 7 p.m. For more details, visit littleopera.ca or go to classic107.com. I've embedded a direct link to the show page about the concert that you can find in the article that's up there now. Mariam and Neil, thanks again.
Thank you.